When people first start in the gym, one of the first things they want to know is, how should I be deadlifting? What type of deadlift should I be doing? Well, this answer depends very much on your training experience, your kind of desired training outcomes, and a little bit of your kind of God-given proportions. We've got to start with the classic, the conventional deadlift. This one's really good because it's one of the ones on the list that has the longest range of motion. It's very posterior chain dominant, which is often undertrained. That's your hamstrings, glutes and lower back, and is consistently great for overall power development. It's a good muscular developer, it's very good for your strength, and it can carry over to some sports as well. The only thing that a lot of people struggle with is the mobility required. It isn't like completely unachievable, to be honest, but you're going to have a harder time, kind of depending on your proportions. I know that a lot of people with kind of longer torsos really feel like this lift can kind of beat up their lower back. And if you've got really long legs, it might be a bit of a struggle just for how far you have to pitch over the bar and how kind of long that range of motion is for you. Next up is sumo deadlift. Sumo deadlifting reduces the range of motion and shifts the emphasis away from the hamstrings and a little bit more on the quads. Instead of just being lower back and hamstring dominant, this definitely suits lifters that have longer torsos, maybe kind of shorter legs. Basically, they can kind of get into a more squatty type position, and that oftentimes feels a lot more comfortable for someone like that. 9 times out of 10 with the sumo deadlift, it's either going to be that you prefer it just from the kind of proportionality alterations, or you're trying to maximise pulling in competition. Because it reduces the range of motion, because you're taking a wider stance, you're maybe cutting anywhere from like 3 to 6 inches off your range of motion. And if you're interested in powerlifting, this can just help you get a bigger overall deadlift. It puts more weight on the bar, but because of this, some people also do argue that you're cheating when you do sumo. I'm not here to get into that, but something to be considered. A lot of times people think that it isn't as good a developer as conventional just because you are cutting the range of motion and you are essentially like making the lift easier. The only thing is though, is you need to have really good mobility to do this lift. If you take it to, a quite wide stance, you take it to its nth degree, you're going to really require good mobility in your hips to get that turned out position. And then there is the trap bar deadlift. The trap bar deadlift is really good because you can actually lift in a way that a lot of people already find quite natural to them. It's a bit of a hybrid between the squat and deadlift kind of movement continuum. It still is a deadlift, but there is just obviously a little bit more quads, you're a little bit more upright, and your knees can travel just a little bit further forward without making contact with the bar. It's also really good because it does alleviate a little bit of the pressure on the lower back, and you can also have neutral gripped handles, which is really good because your grip isn't going to fail you as soon. You can lift a lot more with a neutral grip compared to like a double overhand grip. This lift is often used by athletes because the kind of position that it puts you in is quite similar to a jump. You're not fully squatting all the way down, and there's that slight kind of hinge forward as well, so it is just a little bit more athletic in how the hip extension is done, while still kind of delivering a lot of the benefits that deadlifting gets you. The other thing as well is it's obviously a little bit of an injury preventer. It does come to people more intuitively. Not that the conventional or the sumo deadlift are inherently going to injure someone, but there's just kind of more margin for error on the trap bar deadlift, which is why a lot of people with kind of a sports background prefer it. So which deadlift is actually best for you? Well, it depends what your goals are. If you want to lift the most weights possible, you want to be into powerlifting, just pick the one that you can lift the most on. For some people that's going to be sumo, for some people it's actually going to be conventional. It just kind of really depends. Try them out and see what serves you best. If you're from an athletic background, if you're just trying to improve at your sport, it might just be better to kind of shut your brain off, pick the one that just comes to you probably a little bit more naturally and is slightly less injury prone. Take the trap bar. If you're interested in building muscle, to be honest, you could cycle through the lot of them. You don't really need to be dogmatic about it. You don't really need to be dogmatic about any of these. I have used every single one of these in my training, and I know a lot of people that have at least cycled through 2 of them. If you're looking to build muscle as well, there's plenty of good variations of it as well. The Romanian deadlift is much better for isolating the hamstrings and the glutes, but kind of bringing all these things together, you can get the best of all of them and kind of get all the advantages to serve you if you just kind of program them correctly, maybe go through phases of doing each one of these lifts. So every deadlift has its place. This was just a brief kind of touch upon the subject. I have more in-depth videos on deadlifting on my channel. You can check those out. So comment down below, what is your favourite type of deadlift? What's a deadlift variation that you've maybe not tried before but are interested in? And is there anything that I missed? If you think I did, leave it down below. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest ones.